Hey, good morning, Bobcat Nation. It's Dr. Miles returning for our favorite hour, the Charlotte Web Hour. Happy Spirit Day, representing my two favorite teams, Raider Nation, Raider Football, and also GT Pro Racing Team. I think when I was a kid, every kid had dreams of being sponsored by GT or BMX, and so hold on to those dreams as a child. All right, before we start reading, I just want to show you guys. I don't know if you know, but we do have a YouTube channel. If you guys are familiar with that, that's some really cool stuff. All the videos that we posted, all the read-alouds are here. And there's some other stuff too. If you look at our channels, we're still waiting on a couple. But if you look at our playlist, there's some really cool videos. One of our playlists is all our read-alouds. The second one is some cool science videos that my daughter watches, so they must be cool. And another one, which is one of my favorite, it's called All About Bobcats. And if you click on it, there's just like these really cool informational segments about bobcats, right? So it's good to know a little bit more about our mascot, very interesting creatures. So that's it. So with no time like the present to get into chapter 3. All right, so last time we were reading, we broke this chapter up into 2 parts because it's pretty long. And Wilbur was kind of feeling down about himself. He was inside the barn, kind of lonely, and he started to hear voices, right? And the voices were not in his head, but from an actual other animal, right? So now we have animals that are talking, so we know animals, do they talk? Yes or no? No, right? So we know that this is fiction. But usually we can learn a lot from these animals. All right, you ready? Okay. All right, so just to recap, Wilbur's in the barn, and the goose started to talk to him. All right, let's get started. Let's see. Did you say the board was loose? That I did, said the goose. Wilbur walked up to the fence and saw that the goose was right. One board was loose. He put his head down, shut his eyes, and pushed. The board gave away. In a minute, he had squeezed through the fence and was standing in the long grass outside his yard. The goose chuckled. What does chuckled mean?
Like laughed?
Yeah, laugh. Thank you, audience. Yeah, it means to laugh, right? So instead of he laughed at the joke, you could also say he chuckled at the joke, right? How does it feel to be free? She asked. I like it, said Wilbur. That is, I guess I like it. Actually, Wilbur felt queer to be outside his fence, with nothing between him and the big world. Where do you think I'd better go? Anywhere you like, said the goose. Go down to the orchard, root up the sod. Go down to the garden, dig up the radishes, root up everything, eat grass, look for corn. Look for oats, run all over, skip and dance, jump and prance. Go down to the orchard and stroll in the woods. The world is a wonderful place when you are young. Let's pause for a moment, right? What do you think that means? The world is a wonderful place when you're young. Maybe that's something you have to ask your parents. Ask your mom, your dad, your grandparents. What does that mean? I think they'll have some really interesting insight into that line. I can see that, replied Wilbur. He gave a jump in the air, twirled, ran a few steps, stopped, looked all around, and sniffed the smell of the afternoon, and then set off walking through the orchard. Pausing in the shade of an apple tree, he put his strong snout into the ground and began pushing, digging, and rooting. He felt very happy. He had plowed up quite a piece of ground before anyone noticed him. Do you think Wilbur should be doing that? No. Camera person, can you make sure the camera's on here?
It is.
Okay, good. All right. Mr. Zuckerman was the first to see him. Do you think Mr. Zuckerman's going to be happy? No. Did the goose give him good advice? We'll see, right? You think Wilbur's being destructive? Yeah. Did Mr. Zuckerman warn Fern about this? Yes. Did Fern listen? No. Is Fern going to clean up the mess? We'll see. All right. Mr. Zuckerman was the first to see him. She saw him from the kitchen window, and she immediately shouted for the men. Homer! She cried, pigs out! Larry, pigs out! Homer, Larry, pigs out! He's there under the apple tree. Now that's where the trouble starts, thought Wilbur. Now I'll catch it. The goose heard the racket, and she too started hollering. Run, 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 downhill! Make for the woods, she shouted to Wilbur. They'll never catch you in the woods." The Cocker Spaniel heard the commotion, and he ran out from the barn to join the chase. And we have a camera person over here. Let's not show my dog licking herself. This is a Cocker Spaniel. These dogs are in this time, or in rural areas, like in farms, because they were specifically bred to hunt, like fowl, right? When you think about fowls, like ducks and birds and stuff like that. So they would take these dogs hunting with them, and when they would shoot the birds down, or not shoot them down, but like hunt for like their food, the Cocker Spaniels were bred to go retrieve them, just means to get them, and bring them back, right? So this is a Cocker Spaniel. And a lot of stories with farms, you'll see a lot of representation of Cocker Spaniels. Now this Cocker Spaniel is,
Lady!
she's a little brat sometimes. She's like Wilbur. She'll go in my yard and dig holes and stuff like that. So let's get her back in her little cage. Don't worry, she's already been outside and used the restroom. All right, back on the story here, children. The Cocker Spaniel heard the commotion, and he ran out of the barn to join the chase. Mr. Zuckerman heard, and he came out of the machine shed where he was mending a tool. Lurvy, the hired man, heard the noise and came up from the asparagus patch where he was pulling weeds. Everybody walked toward Wilbur, and Wilbur didn't know what to do. Right, so there's a lot of commotion. When I imagine the scene, it's a lot of craziness, right? I always think about too. Sometimes our dogs get loose, and when our dogs get loose, it's like chaos. Oh my God, get the dog! It's gonna get hit by a car, right? It is that kind of chaos, and that's what's happening with Wilbur. I don't think Wilbur really understands that people are very concerned about him because the goose told him to just escape. Okay, get around behind him, Blurby said Mr. Zuckerman, and drive him toward the barn. And take it easy. Don't rush him. I'll go and get a bucket of slops, right? Slops are like leftover foods, probably. Just foods that they're not going to eat. Instead of throwing them away, they save them for the animals. The news of Wilbur's escape spread rapidly through the animals on the place. Wherever any creature broke loose on Zuckerman's farm, the event was of great interest to the others. The goose shouted to the nearest cow that Wilbur was free, and soon all the cows knew. Then one of the cows told one of the sheep, and soon all the sheep knew. The lambs learned about it from their mothers. The horses in the stalls in the barn pricked up their ears, and when they heard the goose hollering, and soon the horses had caught on what was happening. "Wilbur's out," they said. Every animal stirred and lifted its head and became excited to know that one of their friends had got free and was no longer penned up and tied fast, right? So the animals are really happy for Wilbur, right? Because they in their mind, in their perspective, they're kind of cooped up into the barn, and they want to be free, right? And so it's just a matter of perspective. So we're going to see if Wilbur's perspective changes once he is free. Does he actually want to come back to the barn, right? Where his needs are being taken care of. Really good themes here in this Charlotte's Web. Wilbur didn't know what to do or which way to run. It seemed as though everybody was after him. If this was what it's like to be free, he thought, I believe I'd rather be penned up in my own yard. Uh-oh. So Wilbur's what? He thinks being free is all part of this commotion with everyone running after him. All right. The Cocker Spaniel was sneaking up on him from one side. Lurie, the hired man, was sneaking up on him the other side. Mrs. Zuckerman stood ready to head him off as he started for the garden. And now Mr. Zuckerman was coming toward him carrying a pail. This is really awful, thought Wilbur. Why doesn't Fern come? He began to cry. The goose commanded and began to give orders. Don't just stand there, Wilbur. Dodge about, cried the goose. Skip around, run toward me, and slip in and out, make for the woods, twist and turn. The Cocker Spaniel sprang up for Wilbur's hind leg. Wilbur jumped and ran. Lurvy reached out and grabbed. Mrs. Zuckerman screamed at Lurvy. The goose cheered for Wilbur. Wilbur dodged and between Lurvy's legs. Lurvy missed. Wilbur and grabbed the spaniel instead. Nicely done, cried the goose. Try again. Run downhill, suggested the cows. Run toward me, yelled the gander. Run uphill, cried the sheep. Turn and twist, honked the goose. Jump and dance, said the rooster. And here's the picture
of all the chaos, right? You can see all the animals telling Wilbur what to do. They run, jump, twist. And there's, I think that's the hired hand who's trying to capture Wilbur, right? The hired hand is an old term that just means someone who works at the farm, right? That they have to pay. Okay? All right, so we'll stop there. And we're going to see what happens next, right? So just to summarize, Wilbur gets loose. He starts running around. Are the animals happy? Yeah, they tell him to move, to run for the woods. But all the chaos ensues, right? And so the Zuckermans are worried about him. They get the hired hand. They're getting slops. They're trying to chase him. The Cocker Spaniel tries to grab him. So we'll see what happens next, right? We're breaking up this chapter into we'll finish it on tomorrow, actually. I'll read with you tomorrow because it's a pretty long chapter. So don't forget Bobcats. It is Spirit Day, representing the GT Nation, favorite bikes, and the Raider Nation. And also, don't forget to check out our YouTube channel, Washington Bobcats, and look at some of the videos that we have there. We'll be uploading them probably daily. Look at really cool videos. If you subscribe to the channel, I'll tell you what, when we come back May 5th, the first 10 students who subscribe to our channel will have a pizza party that Friday. All right, this is Dr. Morales. Wish you well. I will see you tomorrow. Stay safe. Be good and, enjoy life. Peace out. Keep it real.